What Remains of Edith Finch is somehow darker than I thought it would be, and also lighter. It holds levity in its darkness in a way that I find truly hard to conceive. It's a visually beautiful game, and the story it tells is genuinely gut-wrenching. The house that you explore is beautiful. The characters and the plot is great, but it really is ultimately more of a visual novel than it is a video game. It's interactable. Like, the thing that makes it a video game is that you're moving a character around, that it's interactable. But this game does railroad you to like a crazy degree. So much so that really and truly, once you get inside the house, I thought we'd loop back around outside to like the front part of the house to explore more of the forest. That's not the case. If you want to explore the front part of the house, the forest and the front part of the house, you're gonna have to do that at the beginning. And I kind of thought that after the end, where they kind of reveal this information about the library in past tense, I'm gonna keep this as spoiler-free as possible. So it's like, oh, maybe then after we complete the game, we'll be able to go back through. No. As soon as you get that information, you're completely railroaded into the credits. And that was something that was like honestly pretty hard for me to stomach, because like, what do you mean?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
When this video goes live, my VOD will already be live. I know that much because I'm currently uploading it as I'm filming this. So if you want more information on what I'm talking about, if you want to see us play the game, I highly recommend you play it yourself, but also watching a VOD is great too. It's a very short game. It tells its story and it gets out. I understand why it's structured the way that it is, but I do kind of wish that there wasn't specific paths you need to walk. For example, as you're approaching the house, your inclination is probably to go up the front steps, right? A lot of people's would be, right? There's a bunch of series of steps on different landings to get up to the front door of the house. And the assumption is that you have this key at the start and you think, okay, well, does this key unlock the front door? I start walking up the steps, I get distracted. ADHD queen over here. No, I'm joking. But no, seriously, I have ADHD. I get, there's a lot to look at in this game. I get distracted. So as you're walking, there's a narration and you see these sentences forming on the screen. And as you're going up the steps, you'll see half of a sentence.
As a child, the house made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words.
And if you don't keep walking, you don't get the other half of that sentence. What if I walked up part of the landing and then walked off to the side and decided to go to the garage? I would never finish that sentence.
Now, as a 17-year-old, I knew exactly what those words were. I was afraid of the house.
So you really kind of have to follow the path that the game wants you to follow in order to get the story, right? And in some ways, that feels like symbolic. That feels like, oh, that makes sense for the whole issue of it all, the whole problem, right? A big part of this story is the idea of the narratives that Edie, the great-grandmother, would concoct, and that the idea of everyone in this family has died tragically, and Edie has like a story for each of them, but what is real versus what did the person think. A lot of family members have become paranoid that there's this monster trying to kill them. A very good example of this, right, is at the beginning of the game, when you walk up to the house, there is this pond, and there is a dragon slide in the pond, like broken, deconstructed. And Edith, our protagonist, she says to the player that her grandmother always said that her great-grandfather Sven was killed by a dragon. And basically what she didn't say was that it was a dragon slide. The dragon slide killed Sven.
Edie once, about the dragon in the pond, she said it had killed her husband.
She's like, but I didn't know that when I was a kid. And so it's this kind of thing of like, is said he was killed by a dragon versus he died by falling off the roof while building a dragon slide. Two very different things, but kind of similar. And that can be said with a lot of the deaths, right? And the idea of Edie concocting these more fantastical variations upon what actually happened versus what actually happened, which is more mundane. The fantasization of these deaths as a way to cope with the tragedy of how much death she has experienced in her life, to add whimsy to the horror. So in a way, I think that the railroading makes sense, because it's almost like how you had to follow Edie's train of thought while living in this house. You had to kind of accept these fantastical variations on the truth. Living within Edie's reality, living in Edie's house, you had to step in line with that belief system and let her kind of take control. And you can see how her granddaughter and the protagonist's mom, Dawn, how she was like kind of one of the few people that didn't lean into that ideology, and thus was like constantly in conflict with the grandmother because she would not lean into this kind of perspective of magical thinking that was ultimately rather destructive, I think, in a lot of these people's lives. I will not go into detail on any of this because I think you should play the game yourself. In terms of a review, I really liked it. I did not like the railroading. I think that's the complicated thing, right? One of my things with video games and storytelling is that I think the medium needs to be good for what you're doing. I don't know if any of this makes sense. And like the medium for What Remains of Edith Finch is good, right? It is a good medium for it. This game has won awards. It's a phenomenal game. It's amazing, right? However, and this is my thing, I think that a video game as a concept has to understand that you're gonna want to explore the whole world and to free roam on some level, right? And I personally, I'm a Breath of the Wild girly, you know? I'm a Tears of the Kingdom girly. I love you can come at this puzzle in any way, shape, or fashion. You can kind of figure all sorts of things out. You can come at it with different angles to find the same information. I love a puzzle like that. I love a situation like that. And What Remains of Edith Finch is just, it's not open world, which is crazy because it feels like it should be, you know? Like you have this whole like house, part of this like backyard and front yard in this house, but you're really only able to take certain paths. You really can only go from the front of the house, through the house, into the back of the yard of the house, back into the house. Like there's a set path you have to follow, which, like I said, I think it makes sense given that it's almost like you're retracing great-grandmother Edie's steps. You're following the train of thought that she created, that she made for the family, that the delusion that the family lived within, right? And that makes sense. And so I get why you do that, why you have to follow the stories through to their end in a particular way. But I just don't like that. I prefer when you can come upon things in your own time. And maybe that's just because I'm stubborn and I walk to the beat of my own drum. I understand why there's like such an abrupt end. It makes sense. I'm not saying it doesn't. But I didn't enjoy that. Quite frankly, I didn't. It bugged me a little bit. I do have issue with being given a mystery and that you can't solve. There's a reason. There's a good narrative reason as to why. And I understand that and I accept that. But also, it bugs me just a little bit. Still, despite that, I'm rating it, I'm gonna say 4 stars, 3.5, 4, 3.5. I don't know. I genuinely think it's very good at doing what it's trying to do. That is my thing, right? Ultimately, this game is very well accomplished in doing what it's trying to do and in telling the kind of story it's trying to tell. And that is the most important thing, right? With a narrative like this, is that it accomplishes its goal. It accomplished the goal. Does that mean that I'm happy with it? Maybe not entirely. I don't know. I'm still chewing on it. It's been a few days since I played this game and I'm still chewing on it. I really don't know how to feel about it, especially because I genuinely thought it was going to take a few days of streaming, and we completed this game in 2.5 hours. And then yesterday we went back and tried to play a little bit more to figure out more information, and we didn't find anything new really. And I had to watch a YouTube video that someone else made to really kind of comprehend that no, we did really have all the pieces we needed, and the story is as like kind of vague as it's supposed to be. Like that is basically my answer. It's supposed to be like that, and I don't like that it's supposed to be like that, but I accept that it's supposed to be like that because that is the nature of life and existence and blah 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 blah. You get the point. But yeah, I don't really know how to feel. I really liked it, like, and I feel like I need to clarify, I genuinely enjoyed this game. It pulled feelings out of me. I wrote some things down. I finished this on Tuesday, and I did take some notes. Not crazy big notes, but I did take some notes. I said that the plot was moving, that the controls were charming. Oh, we can talk about that in a bit. And the story was both gut-wrenching and, again, charming, and that it was a bit railroady. That was all I really said. So as for the controls, I got so confused half the time. The controls in this game were like, it was very minimal. It was like 3 or 4 buttons most of the time, and there's no manual spot. Like, normally when you play a game, there's like an options or information page that shows you what controls go to what. This game doesn't have that, and I get why, because they change constantly. I should clarify. So a lot of the story is you going into each of the rooms of these people that have passed away from the family, and there's little monuments to each of them in the rooms, and you're open, like, basically their last words. Like, a lot of them have written some sort of last words, or we have some sort of evidence of how they died, and then you go into that person's perspective based off of what's written, and you see that version of events, right? So with that in mind, each version of events, the controls change rapidly. At one point, the same thing that you're using to walk around, now you're using to turn a can opener of peaches. The same button you were using to jump from place to place, you are now using to help a shark wriggle down a hill. I kid you not. All of it very relevant. So it's intentionally, I think, very jarring and confusing. It's part of the story. It's part of the narrative. There's a reason it's like that. But it's still like, half the time you're like, what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean? And it's charming and it's hilarious, but I got so confused. And maybe that's me. Maybe that's a me problem. But my mom loves to read, and so I was like, oh, maybe I should give her this game. But part of me is like, I think I'd have to sit there with her while she played it, because I think she'd get confused at the controls. And that's fair. That's fair. She would. And that's the problem too, right? Is like, I think that aspect of it would be like barrier to entry for some people. Because there's a lot of people that aren't like super good at video games, but would probably really enjoy an interactive narrative game like this. But when there's no like, hey, use this button to do this, they're going to be so confused. There were a few times where I like got really confused. There's like a point where you're running around in the trees, and I kept trying to jump to this branch and it wouldn't let me. And it was because I had to tilt my view to like more off to the side than I thought and look in that direction to be able to jump to that part of the tree. And I didn't know that. It took me a second. I went back and came back, and then eventually I figured it out. But like, how was I to know that? The game doesn't tell you. There's no information on the controls. And so that is the thing that I if I would critique, it's the railroading, and it's the fact that even though the way the controls change are charming and the surprise is entirely delightful or horrifying depending on the situation, it's also frustrating if you're not intuitive with video game controllers. If you're not someone who it's not super intuitive, and if you're not great at video games, if you don't play video games every day, you might not pick up on that. And I don't think that's player fault. I think some of the people that would probably really enjoy this game might struggle to play it because there's you know what, in general, when it comes to the controls, when it comes to the railroading and the story, there's a lot of things that are left unexplained, and you have to just kind of fill in the blanks yourself. And there's mystery to that and mystique, and I like that. But the things that make the game great are also the things that make it kind of difficult to play. Those are my main thoughts on it. And I feel like I need to emphasize this, I genuinely really enjoyed the game. I've been sitting with it for like 3 days, just thinking about it. I don't even know where to begin in talking about it. Clearly, because I'm going in circles. I thought about scripting this video, but then I was like, I don't even know what I'd write. So I really hope that any of this makes a lick of sense, because I don't think it does. But yeah, so many feelings on What Remains of Edith Finch. I still don't know entirely what to think. There's a YouTuber who made a video, and I think his video is great. His name is Joseph Anderson, and his video is called The Villain of Edith Finch. And I recommend you go watch that video if you have already played the game and you're like a little confused like I was. I think he does a really great job explaining it. If you play the game and you're like, the fuck is going on? Watch The Villain of Edith Finch, and I think you'll get what you're looking for. You'll get it after that. But I don't know, friend. I don't know. Those are my main thoughts on What Remains of Edith Finch. I have many feelings, and that's the best way to put it. That's the best way to put it. I have so many feelings. I cannot make sense of them. Maybe I should have journaled about this before talking about it. I might come back with you from the future after I've made this journal spread and talk about it. And that's me right now. My plan for this journal spread was to emulate the look of the little monuments almost that they have to each of the family members in their bedrooms. My idea was to emulate that, but for Edith. So what I actually did, which is kind of cool, is I found a image of like a wood cut online, and then I took Edith's doodle of herself from the family tree, and basically in Procreate on my phone I like traced over it, and I used a little doily like they have underneath. I used a lot of imagery that reference the story as a whole. So like from Molly's story, we have the owl eating the rabbit. We have a lot of imagery of death with the skulls and such. We also have that little like mirror with I don't know if you can tell, but it's like a little clock inside of a broken mirror. And I just thought that was kind of an interesting image to add. I don't know, I feel like you get really deep in an explanation as to why that makes sense for this game, but you get the point. I used the little space kind of stuff because there is a family member who was obsessed with like astronauts and such. I included flowers because I do have quite a few plants. I included the little birds because they were like by the seashore. I chose to include a sticker for the key. And I also found a roller skate sticker. I had a roller skate sticker. So I used that because that's a reference to Barbara, is that her name? One of their myths, there's like a roller skate in it. So I just, sorry. I play Love in Deep Space. Whatever, it's ingrained in my psyche, I guess. But anyway, from their story, one of the characters had roller skates as like an element. And so I basically just included a bunch of Easter egg references to the game, and I think it went together very smoothly. It's very different than my Strange Horticulture spread, and I was really glad about that because I was super worried. I cut a lot of this out, but I spend a ton of time moving paper around at the very beginning. You see a little bit of it, but I cut a lot of me just sitting there, and I also sped up a lot of me just sitting there staring at the paper because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I was so worried it was going to be exactly the same as the other one. But I think this one has its own kind of thing going for it. And I really liked it. I was really proud of it. So I hope you like it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good day. You're doing well. We've been streaming on Twitch, and I have a Discord now. So it's linked on my Twitch profile. My Twitch is Adelaide Ordell. I also have a main channel where I do writing content and I talk about story and do video essays. I don't post there as much as I do here, but when I do post, it's usually a big one that I've spent months on. So please go check it out. I'm working on a video right now on the anime Yona of the Dawn because I love Yona. So Yona is best girl. Highly recommend her. Go check that stuff out if you want to. If not, that's cool. You do you, friend. But I am going to leave this video here. And yeah, we've been streaming on Twitch. I'm working on building a schedule. I don't have one right now. I'm thinking that we'll probably be streaming like noon EST to 6 p.m. EST. In theory, I don't know starting when. I haven't quite figured that part out yet, but we're getting there. We're figuring it out in due time. Oh, also I have a TikTok. Everything, you can find me everywhere at Adelaide Ordell, everywhere, on all social medias. I have them all. So yeah, anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good day. I hope you're doing well. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.